The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. Hosted by Dave Hondel.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stage Door Show. This is Dave Hondel, and I have the honor tonight of introducing our very special guest of the Stage Door Show, four-time Grammy winner, Deniece Williams. Deniece, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
You know, I got to tell you, I almost feel like I know you already because I watch every week. I watch your Encouraging Words show, your new series on Facebook Live, and every Monday, you at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, you give an encouraging word to your audience, and I have to tell you that we all need that right now, right? I mean, this is such a crazy time in our world. And, you know, I want you to talk about your new series because I really, really do enjoy Encouraging Words. So tell our listeners who might not know about it, about your series and really how it came about.
Well, it's funny because people would just walk up to me on the street and they'll say, "Can I call you Niecy?" or, you know, "Miss Deniece," and they'll talk and a lot of times the people sharing, and I'll say to them, you know, it's going to be all right. It's going to be good. Just hang in there, because I'm really a cheerleader. I love to encourage people. I love to lift people's spirits, and we are going through, like you mentioned, such a incredible time with this pandemic, and people are just afraid. And yet I feel like one thing that I enjoy the most is just boosting people's spirits, encouraging them, and talking about the positive things, being optimistic and looking at the brighter side of what's going on and where that brighter side is. So if I can find it and I can share a little sunshine, I love to do that. And so I decided to go on my Facebook page and give those people that love me and I love them, and those I don't even know yet, encouraging words during such a difficult and scary time.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And you know, I really appreciate that series because I do watch it every week. And the one thing that I like is that you answer questions that come through on the Facebook Live posts. And, you know, obviously there's so many that come through, but you do take time to answer them. And, you know, talk about that, because I think nowadays with the age of, you know, YouTube, social media, and a lot of things that we have, all those platforms out there, that it allows the artist to be closer to the fans than even when you started, you know, years ago in the music business. We didn't have social media and those things, and you really did have to see people, maybe meet people on the street. But now you can meet them from all over the world and, you know, online. And so, you know, talk about how social media is kind of helped you as an artist in the music business. And we have a lot of independent artists that listen to our show, and, you know, talk about, you know, how that helps you as an artist kind of connect with your fans.
Well, at this moment when we can't go, you know, we're not doing our concerts right now. And a lot of times at my concerts, we do the meet and greet where I have certain people that, you know, come backstage and we get a chance to chat and talk. And I think, of course, anybody that has come to my concert shows, certainly in the last 5-6 years, and even longer than that, I feel like you've come to see me, so it's like you're sitting in my living room and we're visiting with each other. And I talk to you and you talk back at me. I talk with my audience all the time, and there are on a few occasions when I can hear them. So when that got temporarily shut down, it was like, okay, I really want to keep speaking and communicating with those people that love my music, and I love them. And a lot of those people over the years have sent me emails or sent me letters, and we've become, you know, friends. There are several of them that even have my phone number. We've been talking to each other so long, and they text me, and I talk back with them, and I know their family. So this is incredible, you know, being able to go on the internet and do the social media, an incredible outlet for us to continue to talk to the people that love us and people that we love, talk to the fans, old and new, and keep some communication going. Once I realized that I wouldn't be doing the concerts, and I really begin to miss people. And over the years, you go to certain cities, and in certain cities, there are people that have been coming to see you for years, and you develop those relationships. And those are the relationships that I don't want to lose or not be able to stay in touch, as I'm sure a lot of my peers want that same thing. So we get on the social media and we connect with people. And like you say, I like looking and reading as people are coming aboard and they're asking certain questions and wanting me to do certain things, whether it's sing a song or pray for somebody or get some information. So I think it's been a pretty incredible media for us to be able, another platform for us to be able to stay in touch with the people that have been with us for years and years and who, really would love to be in communication with us and for me to be in communication with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's tremendous. And like I said, I have so much fun watching your show every week. And then also another one that I want to talk about that I also watch every week is, and you're now in season 3, is your Diva Stories on YouTube. On your channel, Deniece Williams Music. And so everybody listening, make sure you subscribe. And so, there's new content all the time. And I have so much fun listening to all your stories. But talk about that series, because there's one in particular that really kind of hit me. I watched recently your Prince, the one on Prince, and then also I was hoping if you would, hopefully you can talk about the one about your producer George Duke, because that was pretty profound for me, because something almost didn't happen that was pretty amazing in your career because of circumstances, but you actually persevered through it. And I was hoping if you wouldn't mind talking about that story with our listeners.
Well, I tell you, and I have to tell you, really, really, from the heart, that David, I miss George Duke. I still miss George Duke, and I miss his wife Corinne, because we became such close friends, and he was one of the most warm-hearted people, just a big teddy bear that you ever wanted to meet. I've not met one person that didn't like or love George Duke or have phenomenal things to say about him. An incredible musician. But George and I were in the studio, and we were, I think we had just finished recording Black Butterfly. And so we get a call. I get a call from my manager, and he's saying, listen, the record label is doing a soundtrack to a film, and they want to know if you want to sing this song that's going to be on the film. Unfortunately, there's only one song left. But if you like it, and you and George can do it, it could be on the soundtrack. So George and I, they put us together with the writers, and George and I go over to the studio, and we got these two guys singing this song on the piano, and they're just, singing this little tune, and they give us, the tape of the song. And we walk outside, and George Duke says, we're not doing that song. I said, man, George, come on, man. Don't do that. I said, it's going to be in a movie. It's an up-tempo song. I said, I just read this article that said I'm one of the most brilliant, as far as ballads, I'm a great balladeer. I said, George, I can sing an up-tempo song. Come on, we can do this. I don't like the song. I don't want to do the song. And I'm just begging George to do the song, and he doesn't want to do the song. So I tell people, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck, and she can turn that head any way she wants to. So I stopped talking to George about the song, and I go to his wife, Corinne. And I said, Corinne, George won't do this song with me, and I know it's going to be a big hit. It's in a movie, and we need to do this song. And so Corinne said, baby, don't worry about it, baby girl. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. So 1 week later, we're in the studio doing this song, and the song was Let's Hear It for the Boy. And the project sold about 15 million. And then years later, I did this television show called Unsung, and they interviewed George, and George said, "I still don't like that song." And I tell you what, you give me your money, all that money we made from that song, you give me your share, and we'll be even. And that was the last time. I mean, I had to pull teeth to get him to do that song, and it is today both of ours in our music history, our largest hit, at 15 million.
Yeah.
It was just so funny, but he did a production on that song that I don't believe anyone else could have done, and such a great producer. But anyway, I did not, while he was here, David, I never let him forget he didn't want to do that song.
That was amazing. And I love that story. So thank you so much for sharing that. And again, everybody, all our listeners, make sure you go to YouTube, Deniece Williams Music, and watch every single one of those diva stories. You're not going to be disappointed. So and there's so many different. Now you have season 3 where you have stories about Bob Marley, Natalie Cole, Eddie Murphy, among many others. And it's just great stories that you have, short stories about yourself in the music business. So again, everybody go to YouTube and check out her diva stories. Again, you're not going to be disappointed. So again, thank you so much for sharing that story.
Yes, you're welcome.
The other thing is, you're a 4-time Grammy winner and a legend in the music business, but I understand you originally weren't even considering, and in fact, I saw this on your encouraging words. You talked about actually going to nursing school. So tell us about how you ended up changing your career path there.
Well, my mom worked at a hospital, and my mom was a nurse's aide, among other positions that she held in the hospital. And she worked on Saturdays, so a lot of the Saturdays I would go to the hospital with her. And she worked at a hospital called Osteopathic Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. And so because I was going on Saturdays, I wanted to be a candy striper, and I was the first Black candy striper at their hospital.
Wow.
And I loved going in and talking to the patients, and I would deliver flowers. I would deliver books to them. And sometimes I would even sing to the patients. Every now and then, I'd get in there and I'd be humming. And someone would say, "Oh, your voice is so pretty." And I would end up singing to them. So it was really an incredible feeling of helping people and feeling needed. And so I just loved the hospital and wanted to be a nurse. In fact, I thought about anesthesiology because I was able to go into the surgery to watch surgery sometime, and I admired the woman that was an anesthetist, their doctor. And that was all I thought I'd be doing. But unfortunately, I was not a great student. And boy, if you want to be a nurse or a doctor, any medical field, you've got to understand and love chemistry and science and biology. And my head said, no, I don't like none of that. And so I ended up not doing well in school. And so, I was home just sulking. Oh, God, I'm not good at school. What am I going to do? And that's when my cousin, John Harris, told me that he could get me an audition with Stevie Wonder. And, of course, I did get the audition. I did do background singing for Stevie for 3.5 years, and the rest is history.
Talk about, another thing, that you did that was obviously, Too Much Too Little Too Late, and some others that you did with Johnny Mathis. Talk about your duets with Johnny, because besides your solo work, obviously, those were hits as well. And, personally, one of my favorite songs is Too Much Too Little Too Late. And, talk about your collaboration with other artists and, how those became hits. And, how did you, what was that process like working with other artists?
Well, like I said earlier when I got a call about Let's Hear It for the Boy, I think my second project had just come out. And I got a phone call from manager again saying, Johnny Mathis is going to be doing a duet. His producer has found this duet, and they've been, talking about various singers. that he could do the duet with, and he heard your project, and they really liked your voice. And I said, oh, my God. So I get off the phone, and the first person I tell is my mom. And I thought she started hyperventilating. My mother was such a huge Johnny Mathis fan. And also, what was amazing is because as a little girl, I used to watch him on television, and I'd be singing with him and harmonizing with him. It was almost like, for years I'd been in dress rehearsal and preparing to sing with Johnny Mathis. And so we got the call. They sent me the song, and I went into the studio with John, and I was so nervous. Here's the brand new neophyte to the industry, and here's a legend. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I can't do this. And I get there, and he is more nervous than I am. And he was saying, I love your voice, and I've listened to your music. And he sang a couple of snippets from some songs from my project. And he said, I've never sang with anybody, so I'm so nervous. He said, so, you just tell me what to sing, because you sang with Stevie and Roberta Flack, and you know how to, do these things. And along with that, he had bought in a bottle of wine. So I tell you, we were fast friends, and we just sang the song and had fun. And he has been such a dear, sweet person to me ever since. I did a jazz organization honored him last year, and they asked me to come in, so I came in. And anything for John. He is probably one of the most gentle, most humble men, especially for the success he's had. He is one of the most humble people you ever want to meet. So it was fun being there with him. We toured. One of the Diva stories was about the command performance that we did for Prince Charles. You should go on and see that, because that's a very, very funny story that I tell about John and I. And it was just incredible to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a story. All right, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with Deniece Williams. Did all of you catch our new amazing intro? Well, I can tell you that our new intros for this show were performed by voice actor Steve Zero and were recorded and mixed at Word Bubble Studios in New York. From audiobooks and commercials to e-learning and live events, visit stevezero.com for your sincere and strong narration partner today. Again, that's stevezero.com, stevezerro.com. Just amazing work. We also have a new weekly segment with our very own Ivy Hicks called Sound Bites with Ivy, where Ivy scours the internet for amazing indie artists, and she features them in 60-second segments on the Stage Door Instagram page, again called Sound Bites with Ivy. And that premieres tomorrow, April 22nd, so definitely be sure to check that out. And check out Ivy on her Instagram page, Ivy Hicks Official. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Deniece Williams, and you're listening to The Stage Door Show with Dave Hondel.
We are back with Deniece Williams. Deniece, the question I wanted to ask you is, when did you know that you were really on the verge of being a star, or what did you hear on the radio, or at what point did you know that you were a household name in the music business?
It took years for that to sink in, because there was a big part of me that kept saying, I'm just going to do this for a little bit, and then I'm going to quit and go back to nursing school. And so I don't think it really sank in to me until I had a song come out called Silly. And when Silly came out and the reaction that it was getting, that I think that's when it dawned on me that I was actually in the music business, raised in a very strict religious environment, and good church girls didn't sing the devil's music. You just sing Christian music. And so there was something I kept telling me, I'm trying to stay out of hell. I'm trying to stay out of hell. I'm trying to stay out of hell. I realized that God had given me this gift, and he'd given me this gift for a reason, and the reason was to share it with the world. to make great music. I didn't want to do anything that was, raunchy or too sexual or any of that stuff, because that's not who I am. But as long
Right.
as it was good music and love stories, whether happy love stories, sad love stories, love is love, and it took a while for me to realize that this was where I really belonged, but I did finally get there.
Well, it's just amazing. No, that's a great story. And, I always ask people that because when, you always wonder, sometimes when you see people, kind of see their work being recognized on a big scale, what their reaction is to it. And, at what point do you realize, wow, this is it, you made it. So that's, yeah. The other thing is, just from all your experience in the music business over the years, what is your take on the evolution? And there's so much evolution that's taken place in the music business over the last decade, where like so many recording studios, unfortunately, have been shuttered down, and many artists are recording their own music in their own homes or smaller studios. And in your opinion, has this kind of provided more obviously opportunities for indie artists, and then also that may have not had that opportunity before? And how has that changed the business? Like I said, sadly, a lot of the recording studios have closed down. But in your opinion, how has the evolution kind of happened over the last decade, and how does that affect you in your songwriting and recording?
Well, and it is a shame. A lot of the studios that we worked in originally no longer exist. And it was a great, fun time for me to, leave my house and go to the studio and go into a whole nother world. I never wanted a studio in my home. That was like work. Oh, no, I'd rather leave my home and go to work. It's been incredible for a lot of artists that they can create their own music at home. Even my son has his own studio set up in his home, and he's writing, a lot of music, writing his songs, and that's, this is a new day for the new artists. We did things our way. Of course, the people that came before us did it their way. I remember when we came along, unlike the singers and musicians that went before us, we were layering the music. The musicians came in, the strings came in, you did your vocals back in the day. All of the strings, the horns, everybody did it at one time. When you're talking about the Ella Fitzgeralds or the Sarah Vaughan's or different other artists in that era, they were doing it all at one time. And I actually had the honor and the privilege of doing a recording like that with David Foster many years ago, where I sang and the strings and the rhythm instruments, we all did it together. But most of us in my generation, we were layering and doing things. So music had taken, or recording music had taken on a whole nother way of being when we came up. And now it's taking on a whole nother way of being with the newer and the younger artists. And for them, because a lot of the record labels have changed their whole format of how they're even carrying artists, on the record label. It's not the same as when I got my record deals. These record deals are very different now. So the independent artist has a better shot of making his own music and then getting it out through various avenues, as we spoke earlier about social media, which has broken a lot of artists. You look at Justin Bieber, he came off of social media, off of being on the internet. And so you have a lot of that going on, and the game has changed. The method that I came up under and was successful with, it no longer exists. It's been ever changing, and it was the same as when we were in the studio, and all of a sudden people stopped using horn players. They were getting the horns down on the synthesizer, and the engineers had to go to start using computers like Mac and Mac or various computers to record the music. You kind of have to change with the flow, go with the flow, and start changing with the way things are if you want to stay prevalent and if you want to stay, in the game today. So you either change with the flow and what's going and what's happening, or you kind of get left behind. All of those engineers that did not want to, go to the Mac or start using the computers and the various programs, they were no longer in business. And so it's scary to a lot of people. It's unfortunate on a lot of fronts, but it's also ever evolving and ever changing. So I guess we as artists have to make up our mind how we fit in. I would say, fortunately for me, God allowed me to write and sing music I've been on the radio for 4 decades. And so I'm still able to make a living as far as writing and producing and the publishing and singing. I've been able to sustain myself in this industry. I will say that a lot of the new artists and a lot of the things that I've heard, I don't know if they'll have the same kind of run on radio that I've had and other artists like myself have. But there are certain ones of us that we've been on the radio for 40, 45 years, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, it really has. And, my wife and I were speaking earlier, and she said, mentioned, she grew up in Trenton, New Jersey, and she used to listen to Philadelphia radio, and there was a DJ named Butterball that used to play your music a lot. So she goes, mention Butterball to her. So I had to do that on the show.
I loved him, and he loved me. I am very, very grateful for Butterball. Yes, he was wonderful. He was a wonderful disc jockey for a lot of us, and certainly he loved me and loved my music. So I'm very grateful for that.
On the Stage Door show here, we talk a lot about, because we have a lot of indie artists that listen, but we talk a lot about the importance of the business aspect of being an artist. And, what words of wisdom would you have for some of our newer listeners as they embark on their journey in the entertainment business? Like, what words of advice would you have for some new artists?
I would say to them, first of all, make sure that you copyright your music. Take your time. Go to Library of Congress. Unfortunately, that fee for copyrighting your music keeps going up. But in the long run, it's great. If you're sending your music out to other people, you want to make sure that the music is copywritten, so that if there is someone that is taking the music and not giving your credits and you can't get paid, you do have a legal stance when your songs are copywritten. I say understand the function of everybody in the industry. The management does one thing, the lawyer does another, the record label does another. Just understand everybody's position and what they do and how much you're going to pay them for their services to help you. What your record contract says, what is obligating you to. Those kind of things. And now you've got Spotify and all of these other people, Sound Exchange, really know and understand what they're supposed to be paying you. BMI, ASCAP, Harry Fox. These are all different entities where you get money, and you need to understand that. I'm not saying that you need to know everything, but you need at least a surface knowledge, so as people are talking to you or using your music or throwing things out to you, that you have at least a little bit of an understanding of what they're talking about. Even if it's your manager that's talking to you, you need to understand what he does, and your booking agent, what they can do, how much they're paid. Understand the business behind the music industry, because it is just that. It is a business worth billions of dollars. You may as well get yours.
That's great advice, and thank you for sharing that. Before we go, Deniece, there's one thing, and I'm going to promote your Diva Stories series one more time here, but there's another story, and I mentioned it earlier, that before we go, I want you to share it if you would. It's a short story about Prince, and I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so I grew up a huge Prince fan. In fact, I got to, and fortunately in the music business, I got to meet a lot of his bandmates, over the years. But if you would tell the story about Prince, because I thought it was so funny, I actually laughed out loud when I watched it on YouTube. So please, can you just share that before we go?
Well, I was going to a recording studio. I had a room blocked out of a recording studio, and at the same recording studio, and I believe it was Sunset Sounds. It was. Prince had been in there, for a couple of days and a couple of nights recording. And unfortunately, when I got to the studio, the room that I had booked was the same room that Prince had been in. And I went into the room. There was a purple bed in the middle of the floor. You open the refrigerator, had a purple cake, all of this purple everywhere. Okay, now listen, I love the color purple. The Bible says that's the color of royalty, so I love the color purple because I am royalty, all right? But it was purple everywhere, and so I went out to the front desk, and I said, what the heck is going on in there? I cannot go in that studio. Purple bed in the middle of the floor, purple cake in the refrigerator, purple crap everywhere. I'm just fussing. So I'm there fussing, and the guy is just looking at me. And at Sunset Sound, you can drive up, but you drove up, and there was the receptionist window that could see all of the cars that were coming up. So here comes the limousine up there, and I knew that it was Prince. I moved the receptionist, out of the way, and I'm pointing at that car, and he can see me because there's I said, you get out of that car. You get out of that car right now. I got a bone to pick with you. You get your behind out of that car. Nobody got out of the car. I know you in that car. You did all that crap in the studio, and now all the rooms are booked, and you still got all that crap in this, and I'm just fussing. I'm going off. Dirty dog. I talked about him for about 10, 15 minutes. He would not come out of that car. And then next thing I know, the car started backing up. I said, where's the door? Where's the door? I was like, and I know he was in there talking about mad black woman, mad black woman. And I said, oh, my God. It was. Then afterwards, later on, they got me in another room. I had to laugh at my silly self. But Prince did not get out of that limousine. He did not come in there. He said, maybe this is not the right time. Let's let her cool.
Oh, my goodness. I thank you so much. That was so funny, and I laughed so hard when I saw that. So again, everybody, I'm going to bring this up again. Encouraging words on Facebook Live every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we also have Diva Stories weekly as well. And they're on season 3 right now. That again, so well worth it. So everybody, please go to Deniece Williams Music and on their social media platforms and watch these. They're just hilarious. They're great. So Deniece, I'm totally honored, and again, I wish you nothing but the best. And please stay safe during this pandemic. And you're welcome anytime on my show.
And thank you so much. Tell your wife I said hello, and thanks for listening. And it's been a pleasure and an honor speaking with you, Dave. You take care, and God bless you guys.
Thank you so much, Deniece. Good night.
Good night.